think one of the challenges we have with working with both Cabinet Office and Technology Group and some of the other stakeholders as well is there's some degree of ownership. And when I say that, there's certain products and assets that you need when you're going through this process. An ICT approval process, there's some paperwork that needs to be done. In the past, in previous roles, often that's been left to the service to do itself. Working within DUP, I've noticed the fact that there are certain individuals, certain groups and business areas who believe that that responsibility should lie with them. And that's fine. However, to make sure that works, you need to make sure the fact that whether it's Technology Group or Finance Group, whoever it's going to be, are actually working very closely with you throughout the process. The last thing you want to do is be going to Cabinet Office or to Star Chamber and actually have asked somebody else who's quite divorced from your work area to be taking that, developing that information for you. So you want to take ownership for that level of, you're providing financial information, you're providing planning information, you're providing business benefits, that kind of stuff. You want to make sure the fact that, personally, I would think you're providing that holistically from my perspective, rather than providing it from a financial perspective or a government, a PMO type perspective. I think the challenges of governance to date in the service that I'm working on, it's probably been there's a degree of overlap and duplication. So what you often have to encounter is you're working with Cabinet Office, you're working with Star Chamber, you might be working with your own program, and quite often they are looking for the same level of information. You're providing very similar financial information, planning information, that kind of stuff, but depending on the context, for one governance gate or another governance gate, they're actually looking at it from a slightly different perspective, so you need to repackage it. So there's quite a lot of overhead in terms of actually providing some of the assets that they need. There's a perceived blocker, I think, in terms of what governance brings. Yes, there is some delay in the fact that you're generally waiting for a decision to be made, but you have to go on the premise that actually you're going to continue. What you can't really do is stop, stall, and ask people to sit in their hands or even mothball the team. So I think the answer there is really what we certainly did was we engaged very early with the Government Digital Service, and we engaged particularly early with Cabinet Office colleagues. So we knew who was actually going to be involved in the assessment, and therefore brought them in, familiarised them with the actual product, with the service, the user needs, the finances, the business case behind it, the technology, all the things that they're going to be interested with. So actually, by the time you got then to the Cabinet Office ICT approval or the GDS assessment for that matter, then actually the majority of the hard work, the eking out of those kind of questions has actually been done already. So not that it's ever formality, but a lot of the risk has been mitigated, and you feel like the decision can be made damn sight quicker than perhaps it could have been beforehand. So you feel like there's a more of an opportunity, more of a chance that actually you're going to pass, and actually therefore you're not having to worry too much about asking the team to stand down. So in terms of support from GDS and support from Cabinet Office, we were very fortunate in the fact that we actually had quite high level, ongoing support from GDS almost from the start, certainly from the beginning of the Alpha, from inception. So we may have differed from some other digital services whereby we had our discovery session and then we had inception, and inception was quite a lengthy 2-week affair whereby we had GDS working with us very closely, and we brought in the great and the good to help us kind of eke out some of those policy questions, finance questions, all those kind of things that you're going to come back, and the devil in the detail that come back later on. And from that point onwards, all the way through Alpha, we had ongoing day-to-day involvement with GDS, and we were very, very fortunate for that. So they were there helping us in terms of not only helping us find the way forward, but also helping us make sure the fact that we were in a very good state when it came to the Alpha assessment. From Cabinet Office perspective, it was a bit more tactical. So we didn't need that ongoing involvement all the time, but there was an opportunity for us to bring and our Cabinet Office representative in on a monthly basis or something like that, give them an update, or get on the phone, Skype them, whatever it is. Just keep them engaged in decision points, in changes, in that kind of stuff, and that way they were very willing to be part and parcel. I suspect it perhaps wasn't. It may have been the first time that kind of thing had happened, because they certainly seemed quite surprised, but it was welcomed. My advice would be, really, if you get the opportunity, to warm up GDS, make sure the fact that they're in as early as they can in the process, and certainly from a Cabinet Office perspective, involve those guys early, make sure the fact they get visibility of your finances, of your business case, if you have one, of your drivers, the user needs, the fact that obviously all those questions they're going to be asking, and technology, if you are looking at a technology stack and you're considering exactly what that needs to be, then yes, it's a great idea to actually involve them as early as you can in the process, so there's no surprises further down the line. So I think in terms of trying to help, whether it's the delivery manager community or each of the services anyway, understand more about what governance means, what would be very helpful would be, I mean, yeah, it's easy to say guidance, it's easy to say, there needs to be some kind of documentation or something like that, but I mean, from my own perspective, I was quite new to the department. I only joined weeks before starting on working on the PIP digital service, so my knowledge of governance, of the gateways, of the, working with, not so much working with Cabinet Office, I'd had some familiarisation with that before, but certainly working with Star Chamber, MCAT, all those other things that you hear about as well, I was really unfamiliar for that, and I was very heavily reliant on whether it's our PMO organisation, whether it would be delivery methods here, or someone else within the department providing information. But what would be really helpful would be not just the what, but the how, the when, and also when not. It's very easy to say, here's all the various gates that need to be gone through. These are all the various documents that need to be delivered. But also, what we're not picking up is the kind of proportionality there. So when should you be doing it? When don't you need to do it? When do you need to do MCAT? When don't you need to do MCAT? Is it over a certain threshold? Is it over? Are there certain opportunities where actually it's not really appropriate? So having that degree of proportionality and kind of flexibility in terms of what governance needs to be appropriate, what is appropriate, what isn't, that would be really helpful.
And how might you see that being delivered?
That would be, I think that would be really helpful as part of probably workshops with the delivery manager community. I don't know whether others need to be involved in that heavily, but delivery managers generally the guys who are responsible for pulling together a lot of that governance documentation, a lot of the assets that need to be done. So having a common understanding, particularly when there's quite a lot of throughput in the kind of delivery manager community, I think having regular workshops and shared understanding and shared experience of what I've been through, what other delivery managers have been through, I think that would be key. So if we had the opportunity to say, hey, what would be kind of an ideal word from a governance perspective? Obviously, it'd be easy for me to say, hey, there's no governance at all, or it's extremely light. I think realistically, given where we are, where the maturity of the organisation and moving to an agile way of working, I think really having that some degree of deduplication, recognising the fact that there are so many gates to go through that require such similar information, but in different contexts, that overcoming that and trying to rationalize and bring together and merge those gates, so actually providing one set of information to be used multiple times, that itself would be ideal.